Dragons. One of the most mythical creatures to be said to ever flew on this planet. Some people say they were real, while some people say they were just merely a fairy tale story being passed down from one generation to another. Regardless of your opinion, everyone had the freedom to think whatever it is on this blue planet. Thanks to film culture, literature, and even video games, people start to imagine what does a dragon look like and how do they behave. Of course, in popular media, dragons were always portrayed as antagonists. They were proclaimed by many as the evil creature that rained down terror on civilization, annihilating anyone that dared to oppose them, and that dragons themselves were daunting, that every time they appear, it spells danger. But was it really the case? Dragons may have evil intention, but what about dragons that have genuine heart? They want to help anyone around them and they are trying to save the world. They are not hostile, but instead simply friendly. Do such things exist? Yes, and that's the topic of this video. According to the Chinese Zodiac, dragon is included as one of the 12 animals, and compared to those animals, nothing can ever top dragon as being the coolest creature. So if you're born in the year of dragon, consider yourself lucky. So without further ado, let's go! Freedom Planet is an indie title released back in 2014, often considered by many to be just another Sonic-ish game. In reality, the game is nowhere near close to being another Sonic clone. Freedom Planet is created by Sabrina Di Duro, aka Galaxy Trail. Freedom Planet in 2011 was meant to be a Sonic fan game. Sash Lilac, the main character, used to be a hedgehog, and if you take a look at both images, you can pretty much see the resemblance. There were also elements from Sonic games that were implemented but subsequently removed as the development went on. According to Sabrina, she wants to make a game that can stand on its own and don't want it to be a shadow of something bigger that exists already. And after several years of tweaking for the better future, Sash Lilac would appear again with a new identity, in the form of Water Dragon. And to be honest, I'm not trying to sound creepy here, but honestly, what Sabrina had designed here is simply perfect. Lilac herself is not too young to pander towards the younger audience, but also not too old to steer towards the more mature demographic. With that out of the way, let's talk about the game itself. The game, looking from different perspectives, may look like yet another Sonic clone, but in reality, it's more than just that. Lilac controls nothing like Sonic. Yeah, sure, she might be able to run pretty fast like the blue guy, but that's where the similarity ends. She doesn't have a spin dash to begin with, but instead, she got more moveset in her disposal. First up, basic attack, where she uses her hair to whip enemy, and that alone makes me impressed by her even more. She also has some ability to perform some kicking, mainly dive kick and low kick, and with a push of D-pad button, you can perform multiple kicks in different directions. But the most notable move is of course the Dragon Cyclone. Whenever you press jump in midair, Lilac will perform a spin to damage anything, while at the same time, you can perform double jump to get through some stressful moments. The other one is double boost, in which she curls up to charge up her power, and upon releasing, accelerates like a comet and obliterates anything in front of her. Lilac is not your typical damsel in distress. She is one tough girl. Her special attacks cannot be used all the time, as they need to be recharged from time to time. Lilac and friends can also lose health if they were hit by enemies, but can be replenished by collecting these red leaves scattered everywhere. At the same time, in order to get extra lives, you collect these blue gems, and if you collect specific amount listed on screens, you will get an extra life, and the process goes on and on and on. All of this alone prove that Freedom Planet is literally not a Sonic clone. But there's one more thing that needs to be discussed to settle the debate. How is the gameplay? One word, smooth. Despite some of the elements being used as references from Sonic, the majority were original ideas. In fact, Galaxy Trail took inspiration from said media and improved it to a new level. To put it simple, every levels have nice transition from one part to another, something that most Sonic games fail to do. In Sonic games, while some stages let you go fast all the time, some other stages tend to add some hazards that hinder you from reaching full velocity. Not to mention the hazards were misplaced everywhere, and it's as if Sonic team don't understand how to make a good amount of good Sonic levels. And then you look at Freedom Planet and wish Sonic team can do the same thing. In Freedom Planet, in the case of Lilac, she rarely encounters any problem that hold her back. Each levels were crafted in a way that allows the character to go full speed for majority of the game. From the first level Dragon Valley to the 5th level Jade Creek, to avoid further spoiler, never once while I'm playing that I felt like the level is too ridiculous with the obstacles, attempting to slow me down. Sure, Relic Maze may have some section that makes me backtrack, but never slow enough that I come to a crawl. Sky Battalion is riddled with too many things aiming at you, reminiscent of Flying Battery, but unlike that one, this one doesn't spam you with too many things at once in an enclosed area. Everything was spaced out from one another, giving you enough time to react in an open area. The enemies weren't that threatening too, with most taking more hits to make you lose everything. Health boxes are available frequently, as if the game wants you to enjoy the run while providing some challenges to keep you pumped out. Galaxy Trail seems to know most problem with Sonic games and proceed to write down some key notes on the paper to be implemented into Freedom Planet. If I ever run out of lives, it was me, due to being bad at the game and never once the game's fault. As opposed to Sonic games, where the bad level design constantly throw me off. Another thing that separates itself from Blue Hedgehog is a combination of multiple games. Galaxy Trail didn't just look at Sonic games, but also took notes from other classic games such as Gunstar Heroes, Mega Man, and V-Star. As a result, the whole game won't just see yourself spin dashing to win, but instead having you to plan everything according to the situation. On 1 second, you could be going all dragon blazing, and then 1 second you can take your time to whip away every enemies. Honestly, it doesn't distract the pace of the game. Occasionally, I would just stop to fight every enemies before moving ahead on my journey, before fighting the boss at the end of each level, and I felt a sense of satisfaction. Every enemies I destroy, every obstacles I obliterate, every explosion I cause, never once that I felt like I'm wasting my time. I'm guessing the game provided enough freedom for me to do what I want. I can't talk about Freedom Planet without mentioning the brilliant soundtracks. Woofer is the composer of the game, and I'm just gonna say right now, she did a fantastic work. Most of the songs fit pretty well with the current stages. I love Fortune Night, the city filled with Chinese culture, especially lanterns and the traditional houses, while listening to the theme that contains East Asian elements. The aforementioned relic maze revolves around ancient artifact and monument, whilst the music invokes some mysterious feeling to them. Then we have Jade Creek again, where we were surrounded by bamboo forests with moonlight shining down on the river while we tried to find our way around. That music came at the right moment. There are too many things I could talk about in this game, but for the sake of keeping spoiler free, I'm just gonna stay here. In conclusion, Freedom Planet is what a Sonic game should be, and dare I say, better than most Sonic games. Galaxy Trail, while developing their game, understood the pros and cons of Sonic game, and the next step they took is to improvise it, while at the same time, they also did not forget to remove the source and references before inserting their own recipe. As a result, the product that we got nowadays can proudly stand on her own. Freedom Planet is such a fantastic game, and even if you're not a Sonic fan, the game also borrows different elements to keep the game fresh all the time. Also, Major Zhao is the best character in the game. Bubble Symphony, aka Bubble Bobble 2, is released on October 5th, 1994 for the arcade film title. A direct sequel, like I said, to the original 1986 title, Bubble Bobble. But not the first sequel to the game. You know what? I'm not repeating that again. Anyway, let's pretend this is a direct sequel to the first game, and let's keep it that way, cause I'm not confusing myself again. Anyway, the game starts off with 4 familiar dinosaurs that are just reading a book, but then this maniac right here decides to turn those 4 into bubble dragons out of the ordinary. This is why you don't read any random book or found on the floor. It's a ghost diary. It's a curse. Didn't you learn from Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door? So, just like any other thing, the 4 heroes embark on a journey to turn back to their normal human being. We have 4 characters here who are the children of Bob and Bob, the protagonists from Bubble Bobble. Bubblin, Boblin, Kuludun, and Kororan. Each of them allows for different experience by different players, so you can try whichever you want that suits you. Gameplay is mostly the same as its origin. I say mostly because some aspects are new. You can hold down the button to charge in order to release multiple bubbles in one single shot to maximize your dominance. There's also this randomizer item that appears every time you use your continue, which includes stuff like long shot, rapid fire, and speedy shoot, etc. So say goodbye to solely relying on random item appearing in the level in the first game. The game includes a total of 15 stages, excluding the first and final stage that are separated by a branching path, reminiscent of the Darius series. Oh wait, Darius, sorry. Definitely did not copy Outrun. Remember, Outrun and Bubble Bobble came out on the same year. The levels are pretty short to get through. Each world contains multiple rooms that last around 5 to 10 minutes, and by the time you finish them all, you will realize it was pretty short and won't take you too long. The other problem though with the predecessor is that the level itself can be frustrating. At the beginning, like I said, it's a fun ride, but as you progress through deeper and deeper into the second half, who's supposed to figure this out on their first try, like who? But when it comes to Bubble Symphony, Taito seems to realize their mistake because the level design here are more fun to traverse through. The stages are much more straightforward that lets you know what you're supposed to do without alienating the fanbase. While there are some of the cookie cutter levels that make you really want to lose your mind, Those aren't as apparent as the first game, which not only lets the player enjoy the game, but also giving chances for player for more trial and error. The other noticeable changes are the background, and seriously, when I look at them, I don't even want to go back to the original game. Look, I'm not saying the first game is bad, but there's something that about looking at a really nice detailed background and then going back to a black background like this, there's just something so missing. As opposed to Symphony, where each world contains different backgrounds that adds more to the alive old meter. Each world are well represented by different themes that adds another sense of creativity to the game. You can see some great ideas being implemented here and there. Their efforts never gone to waste. How about this one where you're stuck inside a TV machine fighting against other enemies? Or even this one featuring Radish. You know, Radish Land from the really one weird game. Yeah, that one. Let's not talk about it, please. The creativity can be seen in this game, and honestly, Taito should give themselves a pat on their back. Each world always ends with a boss fight that are very easy to beat, including this idiot here. Bosses also include another layer of creativity, which brings me to the next point. Upon starting up the game, you will notice some familiar characters in the background, and this is where they expanded a creativity meter. As you may notice by now, the game is packed full of surprises and references to their other title games. Some items are also here to help you, and also different elements from their respective games that you could easily miss out. And of course, the stages itself, which feels like a love letter to their numerous arcade titles. As I mentioned earlier, the background aren't just there for viewing pleasure, but also reminds players the title past. Now that title is bought by Square Enix, it's good to let them know, the fans, about what title did in the past. For example, Kiki Kai Kai, well, you traverse through the world, fight their enemies, and even fight the main character themselves. Eat that, MCU! The final unique feature is the game progression. Since you are turned into the dragon, you get to perform some special tests as well. Scattered across the world are keys that will be crucial for the final world. In order to collect the keys, players first have to collect 3 music notes across each zone. They usually are hidden in stages with some out of place platform that you can spot easily, and when you walk across them, the music note will appear. It's much better than the original, especially the NES version, where you have to collect specific items to be able to get the good ending. Or even the bubble memories, where you have to collect 7 potions and try to not miss any of the levels that have it. Collect 3 notes and you will spawn the key you needed the most. And also, you can collect the 4 keys on your own and access the final world even without friends. The game could end right away should you fail to get all keys, but if you did able to get them, well, you are transported to the final world, where you will meet some of the craziest level design and some of the most hard level design ever made that will surely test your patience. But that's not enough to get the true ending. In order to do so, you have to be humans, and this is where things get a little complicated. You have to collect 3 special rods that appear in certain levels. Only in those certain levels will spawn it, but with a twist. You have to actively wait for long enough for the hurry up sign to appear, and when that happens, only the rods will appear. Collect 3 rods that spell the word ROD and you will be turned into a human. Collect 4 keys, get the special rod, reach the final world, beat the boss, but that's still not enough. Just like the first game and the third game, At the title screen, you have to insert a special code in order to turn the game into super mode, which is basically hard mode. And then you do the rest of the two other requirements, and there you go. That is when you're able to get the true ending. Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon is the third and final entry on the original PlayStation, developed by Insomniac Games as usual, released on October 10, 2000, just in time for the Year of the Dragon. Despite not growing up with the series, but I did play those games as I grew older. Not gonna lie, all three games were pretty good in each ways, and I would say Spyro 3 is the best one in the series. It maintained all the fantastic elements from the predecessor and never do anything to change the gameplay. The controls as usual are tight and responsive. Spyro will move anywhere according to your input and the whole adventure is smooth. Upon beginning your new adventure, you appear in an area which acts as your hub world. In the hub world, you can freely roam around, pick up gems, and interact with different characters. Each hub world contains a set amount of levels within that you have to enter in order to advance the story. Collect different amount of gems, collect different amount of eggs, and you can proceed to the next level. The controls are very straightforward with only 3 buttons to worry about, apart from the obvious analog stick. Your main ability is to of course breathing fire that can pretty much defeat any enemy, and let me tell you, every time you release the angry breath, you can feel some sense of satisfaction as you tear through the enemy defense line. Second ability is a charge attack where you can start running with your head charging forward that builds up your speed as long as you hold down the button. It's really useful to hit bomb enemies and break some open chests. Third ability are the wings on your back. By pressing jumping after you jump, you can glide slowly in the air before slowly touches the ground. Being able to glide slowly means that you can casually fly towards some platform that you normally couldn't reach. The developer knows what they were doing when they were busy constructing the level that required platforming, and they clearly understood how to build a strong structure to keep the pace going. Compared to Spyro 2 having only 3 worlds, Spyro 3 have 4 of them, and they're pretty unique. Each world were represented by different times of the day. Sunrise Spring, Midday Garden, Evening Lake, and Midnight Mountain. The stakes are getting higher as the day goes by quietly, so you don't have much time to waste, so get on it quickly. Of course, I couldn't mention Spyro without mentioning the brilliant soundtrack from Stuart Copeland, the guy who played as a drummer in the music band The Police. Despite having Year of the Dragon in its title and despite being the third game featuring the iconic dragon, Spyro is not really the star of the show. Throughout your new adventure, you will come across Moneybags, the greedy idiot that returned from Spyro 2. Here, he imprisons some extra characters that you can only unlock by paying him some gems. It's mandatory to unlock them because in some section, the game forces you to play as them. If you haven't unlocked them, then be prepared to backtrack. When you do unlock all 4, this is what you got. Firstly, Sheila the kangaroo, who speaks like a fellow Aussie. Her main moveset is to jump high and perform ground pound. Sergeant Beard, a fellow British agent that tried to accomplish his job. I like his accent as well. His ability is to fly endlessly and using his weapon to take out anyone in his way. Not as good as Spyro though. Bentley the Yeti, a Yeti that also speaks with a fluent Scottish accent. His main ability is basically his hand. He holds a large icicle that is capable of smashing things into pieces. He can also use it to deflect any shot. A lot of people seem to hate him, but I love him for being a big tough furball. Agent 9 the Monkey, which was created by a professor, which just a carbon copy of what Sergeant Beard would do. Except this one is a monkey and monkey couldn't fly. He can shoot everything in sight and occasionally you can switch to a first person mode. And I guess out of all 4 characters, this naughty monkey would then inspire Insomniac to make a new IP. And if you take a look at the IP, you can see some shocking resemblance. There's also Sparks, Spyro companion, but he's not locked by Moneybags, thank goodness. His level is basically a shmup section, which I like. Move him around, dodge attacks, shoot your projectile at other enemy, which kinda reminds me of Bangai-O from Dreamcast. Overall, Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon is simply a perfect game. I love this game from start to finish and I just don't understand, I just couldn't find anything else to hate the game. There's nothing wrong with the game at all. Okay, maybe I exaggerated because there's some little flaws about the game. And the flaws came from the characters, the side characters themselves. Remember when I said you need those characters to access some areas? Well, I mean it. Some were designed especially for different characters and while they're controlled just fine, it slowed down the game by quite a lot. That's my biggest problem. They don't feel as fast as Spyro and you tend to feel like they feel just eternity to end. Like they just don't want to end the entire game. And when you compare everything together, 3 out of the 4 characters aren't fun to play. It just feels like Insomniac increased so much padding to the game in order to make it feel like it's very long, and as a result, it becomes nuisance to play as them. Yes, Crash 3 also do this mechanic where they introduce you with bunch of new mechanic like boat, bike and auto scroller, but at least you can still play as Crash and his sister. Then you look at Spyro 3 and you have 4 characters that came out of nowhere and they don't have any past history with the series. Why should I bother playing them? This is called Spyro Year of the Dragon, so every spotlight should be on Spyro himself. So why should we talk about them? Does anyone care about them? No. I imagine if all the characters were different types of dragon, different breeds of dragons, maybe the game would be acceptable. But in the end, I still love Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon. It improves on all the things that I love from Spyro 1 and 2 and just maintain it the same here. Controls are smooth, gameplay is refreshing as usual, the quest is fun to go through, different types of levels to traverse, and the worlds all are really interesting to travel and fly around. What's next? Well, downfall, as we see later. Wrote with other series of games, their quality dwindled and never were able to recapture the success of the trilogy on the PlayStation 1. Until Reignite the Trilogy, which came out 2 decades later, but hey, that's a remake of the original 3 games that people love, so it doesn't count. Overall, Spyro 3 is a fantastic game. It's what I love on the first 1 and 2 game, but make it even better here with new levels and some new quests, and call it a day, and this is what I love about it. That's all I can say about this video. If you enjoyed what you see, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notification bell so you won't miss a thing. Comment below your opinion on this game. Which Spyro is your favorite? Do you like Spyro 3 of the Dragon? What do you think about the Spyro future now that it's bought by someone else? Let's have a peaceful discussion. Thank you for watching, and have a great Dragon Year.